Welcome to the Wildcats podcast, coming to you from Wildcats Studios with your hosts Adam Lund and Jeremy Boucher.
Welcome into the Wildcats Studios for another episode of the Wildcats podcast, your unofficial voice for all things Moncton Wildcats. As always, fan listeners, I am your host Adam Lund, and I am joined by your favorite co-hoster, Mr. Irishtown now, Mr. Jeremy Boucher. We are back. We are back for the year now. We got our little break. 39 some weeks from here on out. Here we go.
That's it?
That's it, yeah.
52 weeks a year. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
The math checks out. Maybe a weekend, a week off at Christmas time. But no, we're back in business. And happy September, folks.
Happy September.
Pumpkin spice latte season.
Yes.
However, it is like 30 degrees today. So I went with the iced version to keep things cool. But
nice.
No, these are definitely not something I drink all the time.
Just in the month of September.
Just in the month, in that first couple weeks of October there. Because once it gets to the end of October, it becomes peppermint mocha season. So, of course, it's you've got to get your PSLs.
Yeah. PSLs and then your PMLs.
Yeah.
Peppermint mocha lattes, I was Avery's first day of school. Because I sent my daughter a text today. I was like, it is so weird seeing all these kids going to school, and I don't have to make a post after 16 years of making a back-to-school post. Like, it just seems so weird.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, she kind of lucked out where a lot of her friends are in her class, and they're still doing that silly staggered entry where if your last name starts with A to G, you go on Tuesday, but then you don't go on Wednesday. But then you're back Thursday and Friday. But if it's G to Z, you go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you don't go Tuesday. A little silly to me, but anyways, So she went Tuesday, and she's off Wednesday. Goes Thursday, goes Friday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Huh. So and then starts next week full time. And she was excited. She she's been had a hard time sleeping last. What was it, Monday night? Because she was just so excited to go to school. Right. And I don't remember me being excited to go to school. It was dreadful.
Never. Yeah.
But no, she was happy. She's glad to be back. And I mean this in a nice way, but I'm kind of glad to get rid of her. Yeah. It's also
because now it starts as full time. At school.
Exactly. So it's nice to kind of get your freedom back and as a parent. And it's even though at Christmas time it's the number one song played, but usually the day after Labor Day, it's the most wonderful time of the year.
I will be honest though, I almost didn't come back. I got sucked into lake life.
Love lake life.
My legs are burning.
Mm-hmm.
I got a burn on that. We were off Little Ghost Lake, I believe it was, up near Halliburton, which
Halliburton
as you can
is for lovers.
Halliburton is for the lovers. Went into a retro store just on one of the days there, and I was like, that's coming home with me. But, went to the Blue Jays game. Mm-hmm. Caught a baseball from Vladdy. Picked up that little helmet on the way out of the stadium. I just saw it on the ground, and I was telling Layla, I was like, I remember when these used to come with ice creams. Like at the Calgary Cannons games, you got a baseball helmet a mini helmet filled with ice cream. But she doesn't remember that at the Blue Jays game, but it was fun.
You went on hot dog night?
Yeah, not what I thought.
No?
Kind of overrated.
Well, the nice part is those foot-long wieners, you can actually buy them at like Sobeys and Superstore.
Yeah.
I bought a 3-pack for $6, so it's really only $1 more than what you'd get them at on a Tuesday night, and actually cheaper than what you get them for on any other night.
But it's not every stand that is hot dogs. Like, it's certain stands, and you can tell because the lineup is 40 people deep.
Yeah.
But 73,000 hot dogs is what they sold. So just and they're no bigger than the hot dogs at the Avenir Center for $1. Mm-hmm. And when they're regularly like $6.50 or something like that, it's just like, I felt kind of like an imposer with my Blue Jays hat, which, funny enough, actually matched the shirt I was wearing that night. And, caught a baseball one-handed. The couple beside me, he's like, well, why didn't you tell me it was coming? Blah, blah, blah. And they're kind of kind of arguing about why they didn't tell each other the ball was coming. And I looked at him and went, guys, no excuses. I had ketchup on my hot dog and reached up and caught the baseball. But there was some lady beside us. She's like, it was her first game too, and it was my first game. And then I caught the baseball, and she looks right at me, and she's just like, are you going to keep that? And I'm like, yeah, it's my first game too.
Yeah.
And even if it wasn't my first game, a child is getting the baseball. The only reason an adult keeps the baseball, A, is it's his first game. B, that's the only reason. Like, give the baseball to a child. And I looked at the kid in front, and I even asked Layla, I was like, do you really want the baseball? And she loves Vladdy, and he threw it. She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, then I'll keep the baseball. But other than that, I enjoyed the game. I thought there'd be a lot more replays than there actually was, like on the Jumbotron.
Jumbo, yeah.
But yeah, no, it was good. We made a stop at Niagara. Our only friends that are our dogs is the ice dogs. Nice little rink there. Free to get into their training camp no matter what. Had the store open. It was a good time. It was a good way to get out, recharge. But yeah, no, I'm glad to be back in Moncton.
Hockey.
Talking hockey and getting this thing going. So
100%.
Don't forget, as always, you can follow us on the social medias: Twitter, Moncton Wildcats; Instagram, Wildcats Podcast; TikTok, where we've got a few things going, and now like and subscribe here on the YouTube. Quick question: the NFL season kicks off tomorrow. The Super Bowl is in Las Vegas. I should have went and looked to see who we predicted last year, but I don't even remember. So I will give you the floor first to give your prediction if you'd like.
Well, I don't follow the football as much as you do, you and your fantasy leagues and this and that. I don't understand that crap.
If it helps, people that play fantasy football don't understand fantasy football.
Yeah. So, I mean, I watch the NFL.
Yeah.
Am I emotionally invested in it? I guess as much as you are. No.
You're so lucky.
You know, the thing with NFL is I sit down to watch the Patriots, and I'm one of those guys where if Mac Jones throws an interception, I'm like, fuck this shit, and I turn it off and go, I watch another game. And it's like it's like that with the Stampeders too. Yeah. It's like hockey, if the Flames give up a goal, I'm like, whatever, it's only one goal.
Yeah.
But when it comes to football, it's like as soon as there's an interception, I'm done. Like, I am so done.
So you didn't see the second half of Labor Day game on Monday?
No, I was.
Oh man, it was a beauty. Came back with like 20 seconds left or something like that.
I watched the little replay on TSN, but no, football for me, it's just like as soon as Mac Jones throws an interception, I'm like, this is stupid, and I'll change the channel and watch a different game.
Yeah. With
that being said, no, I'm not taking the Patriots. However, I do like their additions of is it Juju Smith-Schuster. That's the one. And Ezekiel Elliott, is that his name?
Yeah,
Ezekiel. I do like those additions. Will they propel them to another AFC? Is it East?
Yep.
AFC East? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. However, I do like Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets.
Yeah.
So I will put my $20 on the Jets. Jets.
To win the Super Bowl?
To win the Super Bowl.
All right, who are they facing?
The Shreveport Pirates. The Las Vegas Posse. The Baltimore... What were they called again?
Stallions.
Yeah, that's the one.
All right, so you're just taking the Jets to win the Super Bowl. I am taking the Jets to finish third in the division, add everything up, and they finish third in that division. I don't think they're going to do what Tampa did in getting Brady because I don't think Aaron Rodgers is what Brady is. But and that's a stacked division with Buffalo and Miami. I'm going to go Super Bowl prediction-wise. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna make some friends. I'm gonna be a panda. I'm gonna pander to the audience. I'm gonna take the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm gonna pander to Pat. I'm gonna pander to Dave, to any of the other Bengals fans that are out there. I'm going to pander to them a little bit. They're just on the cusp. If Burrow can stay healthy off the calf, they're going to be real good, and they just need to get home field. Everybody in the AFC just needs to get home field. Patrick Mahomes has not played a true road game in the 5 years he's been in the NFL, other than the Super Bowls, in the playoffs. So if you can get him out of Arrowhead, you might have a chance. Who they're going to face in the NFC? It's not going to be the Bucs. You know, our friend Andrew Barrington was asking me if I'm pumped for the season. I'm like, meh. It's like, what's football? I'm like, yeah, but it's not Super Bowl or bust like it was the last 3 years. Yeah. It's if we get a couple wins with Baker, all right, and I think we'll be better than a lot of people think.
Is that your quarterback this year, Baker Mayfield?
Yeah. He does one thing well, chuck the ball down the field. Mike Evans does one thing well.
Gamble.
Goes down and gets it. Yep.
He gambles well.
No, that's Johnny Manziel. Baker Mayfield doesn't gamble.
Right.
You're thinking the other little quarterback.
That's right.
Yeah. In the NFC,
I don't know much about football.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be the Eagles. They're just so good in the NFC. So I'm going to take the Bengals to win the Super Bowl. But my other prediction, and I tweeted it at the start of whenever it was, about who's going to be in the Super Bowl. I said I have no idea who's going to be in the Super Bowl, but my prediction is the halftime show will be Vegas' own Imagine Dragons.
And they do put on a good show.
They put on a great
we
show.
Can attest to that. Yeah, I like that.
That's my prediction.
I like that. I would.
It's not going to be Swiftie.
Oh, come on.
Are you going to that? You going to get tickets to that?
Taylor Swift?
No, in the theaters.
Oh my god. Oh, yeah, I already have tickets.
Do you really?
Obviously.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, how much were they?
I'm not going to share.
cheaper than going to the live show?
Oh yeah. If I will say, for those of you who are Swifties and lost out on tickets, so you're one of the 30 million people that didn't get tickets. There is a Taylor Swift cover band playing at the Tide and Bore this weekend, and apparently they're really good.
Oh, yeah.
Swift Kick or something like that.
Good name.
Yeah, and so it's something to check out. 19 and over event, and yeah, I think the wife has always said, "Take me to a Taylor Swift concert."
It's close as you're gonna get.
Yep, it's like that's. You ever watch that movie there, New Year's Eve?
Yeah.
Where Zac Efron takes that older lady, and she's like, "Oh, she wants to do all this is on her life bucket list."
Yeah.
And one of them is like, "Go see this" or whatever, but he kind of plays around with it and just takes her to like something.
Cover band song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, "Here, honey, I'm taking you to a Taylor Swift concert."
We're gonna pre-drink, so you're drunk enough. You'll have no idea.
Yeah.
There you go. All right.
It all sounds the same.
All right. Let's get to some hockey.
News and notes from around the queue.
All right. Well, we haven't really talked about this one, because we only had one episode, and we kind of tried to keep it light as the season premiere. But the biggest news of the league is the new fighting rule.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to prevent physical and psychological violence that will result in minor or serious injuries. All right. With that first statement, I'll get to my thoughts later. The Q has sanctioned now any player thought to have instigated the fight will receive a 1-game suspension. The person declared to be the aggressor during the fight will receive a minimum 2 automatic games. And anybody caught fighting will be ejected from the game. Now, this, I know that there's a lot of people complaining on it. You might as well stop. They're not going to change their minds. It's not going to get rid of fighting, I don't think. I think you're still going to see maybe 1 a month. But my biggest thing, and I've stayed consistent with through the whole year, you better know what a fight is, because the Q had their referee convention in Quebec and in the Maritimes. So there better be a defined in-the-box definition of what a fight is, as opposed to per referee and game management. And I'm sorry, in order to prevent physical and psychological violence that may result in minor or serious injury or in extreme circumstances, death, maybe we don't call hitting from behind into the boards 2 minutes. where you don't see that coming. That's my thing. A little bit of harsher penalties on the elbows, the legal hits, the hits from behind. That's what I'm hoping comes from this. I don't think it's going to change the way teams play. I still think you're going to have that physical altercation, but you damn sure better figure out what a fight is if you're going to start kicking guys out.
Mm-hmm. I didn't want to touch this because I know it's a very sensitive subject for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Am I in favor of it? I mean, I'm on the edge, you know. I understand where they're going with it, but a fight can change the momentum of a game,
which is huge in junior hockey.
Yeah, and so right now you're saying, okay, well, you can't fight. So what's a player going to go? What's a player or a team going to do now to try to change the momentum of a game? Well, I hate to say it, but are they going to go and try to lay a nasty hit to get the crowd into it or something? You know, there's going to be something. There's going to be a loose cannon or two around the league that's going to, I guess, make a mess of this. And I don't know who it is. I don't know. I mean, there's a few that were in the league last year that have graduated. They're not playing again this year, thank God. Mm-hmm. But I don't. I think we've kind of lost the connection that I guess the league needs to have with the fans. Like this is something that I know the league's not going to consult with fans on whether there should be fighting or whatever in the league, because the fans are going to say we want fights. You know, you see like little scuffles after the whistle, and you hear like the 5 and 6 year olds are like fight.
Yeah.
Well, these 5 or 6 year olds are not going to realize that there's no more fighting in this league, so they're still going to chant fight. You know, it's nothing like that's going to change. If you really want to see someone who's really passionate about fighting, if you're on TikTok, go check out Sawyer Hene. You know, the creator of Country Liberty. Obviously, he fought. That was his job in the queue with the Mooseheads, was to fight. And he posted a video probably 2 or 3 minutes long, and even got interviewed by CTV Atlantic about the whole story. And I think he speaks everybody's feelings. You know, he's speaking from experience, and I think eventually, give it a year or two, you know, these fans are not going to be just making fun of the Q. They're also going to be making fun of the OHL and the WHL, because they're going to soon be following suit, right? Like, you're going to go to the Memorial Cup and one league's not allowed to fight. Well, what are you going to do if an OHL player drops the gloves, right? If a Q player drops the gloves too, is that Q player suspended for the following game of the Memorial Cup? Well, no, because it's CHL rules.
Yeah.
Right?
And Gatineau, Ottawa.
And exactly. The interleague games. Yeah. Right? Like, those rules. If the game is in Gatineau, is it no fighting? And then the next night it's in Ottawa and you're allowed to fight?
Yeah.
You know, this is something that needs to be, you're either going to bring back fighting and have harsher penalties, or you're going to make it a CHL-wide rule. Personally, I think you should bring back fights and just have stricter penalties. As foolish as this sounds, instead of a 5-minute major, make it a 10-minute major, right? You sit for longer. But that just sounds stupid, you know?
I don't mind kicking the guys out.
No.
If they fight. Like, I got no problem kicking them out.
Automatic game misconduct for getting a fight, sure.
Yeah, like, you're done for that game. And if you fight in the third period instead of the last 10 minutes, it's an automatic game. Mm-hmm. Like, we're never going back to the guys standing on the blue line, the Jody Shelleys and the Rick Rippins and Matthew Barnabys and that are going out there to fight. And that's fine. I never was a fan of just the guys going out and gooning each other.
Yeah.
Did it get me pumped up at a hockey game? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But I didn't need that for, like, I didn't go to a fight or a hockey game looking for a fight. I barely even noticed that Moncton had 7 fights last year. Mm-hmm. And other than Barbashev and Despont, I can't tell you another one.
No, I can't either.
And they were third in the league. So there was 10 for Bathurst, 8 for St. John, 7 for Moncton.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gatineau at 4, Cape Breton, the Islanders, the Oceanic, Shawinigan, Victoriaville
But
at 2.
look who's at the bottom of that list.
Yeah, Halifax, Ottawa,
Quebec.
and Quebec.
Quebec with one fight.
Memorial Cup champions.
Memorial Cup champions, right? So it's
even the Ottawa 67s had one fight.
Yeah. So that's obviously not a stat that's going to be the same every year. The team that fights the least is going to win the championship. No, that's not the case. But the league can have that argument that, well, the Ramparts only had one fight last year and they won a championship. If you want to win a championship, don't fight.
Yeah.
It's a silly argument, but if the league wants to back up with facts, there is your fact. Right. So it's a touchy subject. We saw Willie Palov retweet Ryan Whitney. I'm not sure if it was Ryan Whitney. Spit and Chicklets. About how him just commenting about how
I think it was like in 5 years the Q is going to be this, and it was like unicycle hockey.
But the funny thing is Ryan Whitney played NCAA, and there's no fighting in college hockey. Yeah. Right. And if you look at the replies of Willie Palov's tweet, people were just like, "It's a joke, man. Can't you take a joke?" Well, he's clearly got a point. He's trying to make a point, and I think he's got a valid argument. Like, am I going to miss fighting? No, I'm not going to miss fight. I don't go to hockey to watch the fight.
No,
it's not the 1990s anymore. The 2000s. You don't have a specific. I remember going to the Q games where in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was literally a designated enforcer on every team.
Yeah.
Like Moncton's had Jacques Levriviere, whose nickname was the Killer.
Yeah,
there was Jared Thomas. There was Trevor Ettinger, rest in peace. It's that's not life right now.
No.
It's a different style of hockey. I like the new style of hockey. I don't care for the fights. I don't care if there's fights. I don't care if it's banned. I'm going to watch the game. I'm not
I said, I was at every game and watched every road game. I was at every home game, and I literally can't tell you any of the fights other than Barbashev.
Yeah.
And in that game where Halifax was up 4-0 and the Wildcats came back all the way to win, I don't even think they had a fight in that one to change the momentum. I think it was a big hit on Boucher, but I don't think it was a fight to change that. But yeah, it's not going anywhere. This is going to be the rule, and they're either all of the CHL is going to get behind it, and I mean all of Junior A across Canada is wearing full face masks now. So eventually the three leagues have to come together on synergy in this league because they don't have it at the trade deadline. They don't really have it at when the season starts. So this is something that they're going to get behind, or eventually the Q is going to allow fighting a little bit, but have a little harsher penalties without kicking guys off the ice on it. So, but yeah, that's kind of, that was the biggest news, and we didn't touch on it last week, obviously, because it's kind of a touchy subject. So let's get to the team you're here to listen to.
Wildcats training camp report.
So the Wildcats go 1-2 in the first three preseason games. Both losses to Bathurst on back-to-back nights, 7-5 and I think 6-1. And then they go into Cape Breton and they get a victory, which is nice to see them finally get a victory in Cape Breton because it didn't seem like we could ever win there last year. So they obviously had some cuts coming into the part 2 of the training camp, thanks to C. Shep, as the OHL starts getting their camps going. Any, I don't want to say shocks, but any surprises for you on the guys that didn't have a chance to come to the second half of camp, other than the Quebec guys?
Are you asking which cuts were surprises or which guys have made it?
Either one, because I got a cut that was a surprise. But
I think we can say that Isaiah Perron was a surprise, just because of how well he performed in the exhibition games. But at the same time, it got to a numbers game, and there really wasn't much room for the young guys. And there's with the signing of something, and you're not going to cut Desnoyers.
No.
You're not going to cut Carrier. You're not going to draft Sebastian Glass just to send him back to Europe. Once those are 4 spots. I mean, if it wasn't for those 4 forwards right there, Perron has a spot on the team.
Yeah.
But I think the big surprise is...
I think maybe the surprise on top of that
Yeah.
was that they traded him instead of sending him back so they could use him as a emergency call-up when they're in Quebec kind of thing. Maybe like one. But you've got guys that...
he's a free agent, so
Yeah.
you got something back for
Exactly.
a player
That's
that
what I
you
was gonna
didn't
say.
spend anything on. And like the same thing with who's the other one that got traded there?
Like a Ray.
Yeah, he got traded, and Dumais was a late round pick, and you got a 5th round pick for him. And if he's still playing in the league at 19, it gets upgraded to a 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
So that's not really a bad condition. Obviously, the big surprise is Nathan Dubray on defense. That's still kicking around, and he's a CJEP guy, so he's got a spot.
Yeah.
You can't do much with him now. He's the earn your jersey hashtag that we're using. He came in probably as a candidate, but definitely the biggest surprise at training camp. His progression last year was nice, but for him to come in and get one of the jobs on the back end was shocking, but also, earned it.
Yep. I think for me, and I said this to you when the cuts came out, I was surprised they didn't keep 3 goalies. I was surprised Keegan Warren didn't make the second style of cuts because I thought he played really good in the preseason games. And, you look at the 2 games against Bathurst and Maverick Welk and him played, and they played very well in both. And then the 2 goalies that came in after just weren't quite there. And I thought, Welk being the free agent sometimes gives you a leg up because you're invited to camp, but you still got to earn it. I thought those 2 would maybe, and with only 3 games left, it's really tough. Maybe if they had 4, they could divide the games up a little bit and give them each 1 game and go from there. But you kind of got to get Steimer work. But I thought Warren might get in there because I thought he was solid. But like you said, you love it. Steimer, Welk, that's your group. Have them together, build that chemistry, and go from there.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's, you're right though. Keegan Warren was really good, and I think he's got what it takes to play in this league.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if, not necessarily, obviously he's not eligible for waivers, but I think you'll probably see him dealt at Christmas, where a team might want not a championship team, but a rebuilding team that just wants somebody with in this case you'll have 1.5 years of junior A experience at that point, which can go a long way. Maverick Welk didn't even play. In this case, in Ontario, it's considered junior A, but it's not the upper tier junior A.
Yeah.
Funny, I think he was EOJHL, which to me is more like a junior B.
Right.
He actually got called up to play junior A, but didn't even play.
Oh, really?
So for him to go from a junior B straight to a backup job in the queue that's pretty good. Another excellent find by the scouting team. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Keegan Warren, he can play in this league. He's got the size and his
composure.
Yep, his goaltending ability speaks for itself, and he'll find a team.
And that's just one of those ones where adding a free agent is awesome, but when you can add an 11th round selection, 14th round selection, and he ends up being a backup or turns into a starter or whatever, that's the late round finds you want. But like I was saying to some other people, I was like, well, he's going back to Yarmouth. He's on their roster, but hey, if the Steamers need a goaltender up in Bucktouche, that's a nice little trade because they seem to be getting all the players from around here. But that's a nice little in your backyard. He's real close if something goes south.
He's still close.
He's still close in Yarmouth, but
he's 5-6 hours away. It's
but that's somewhere he's could practice with the team, be around the team, and just kind of have that situation. But I did get a few messages on Cyprian after his 2-goal effort on that first.
Oh
game.
yeah. You know where he signed?
No.
He signed with the OCN Blizzard, so he's going to join Eric Labrosse. Playing with the Manitoba. Is it Manitoba?
Manitoba, yeah.
Manitoba Junior A. Yeah. So I noticed that. Signed with them, and so I'm not sure if we'll call up a player from Manitoba, but
hey,
again,
things have happened,
a big year for him, and he could be another player that maybe a Q team wants some depth. A third line player or a fourth line player, and he just gets another opportunity.
But again, I mean, you go to the Wildcats Twitter, you look at the roster. I mean, goaltending is set. It's pretty simple. Defense, I mean, they grabbed a couple extra guys because Moran and Plendowski are going to NHL camps from Kevin Barrett's article. But you look at the forward group, and it's
14.
Yeah, where are you going? Like, that's your forward group. So it's really interesting what they're going to be doing with the players we talked about a lot last year being on the outside looking in on that defense core, because if DeBrill is a C-Shet player, so that means he cannot go back to Quebec.
He can't. And when you get a look at it, Lounsbury's going to NHL camp, Sumph is going to NHL camp, and Loshing's going to NHL camp. So you're going to be down to 11 forwards by the middle of September, probably.
Yeah.
I think Schlender is still with the team.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Easton Schlender.
Good name. Good solid name.
Yeah.
So he'll be in there, and then maybe Valentine will get some forward work and be that go-between type player that the Wildcats love to draft. But yeah, you look at the roster, and I'm kind of excited to see them play this Friday, because that's what I hate about. That's one of the many things I hate about that C-Ship rule. Is I would like to see a combination of Cooper Cormier and Jack Hayne and Loshing, just to see the guys play the next level. I'm not picking on these guys. I'm just saying, Luke Morin, love to see him play as a defenseman with better Q type players. And that's where I think we kind of get robbed of training camp, because what's the point of these last 3 preseason games? The rosters are set. There's going to be a few guys going to dub camps. That's about it. It's kind of meh. And you've been
so Cooper Cormier, Cooper Cormier, Luke Moret, Jack Hayne, CJIP has nothing to do with them, right?
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But it's
I just meant as a whole total rule.
I think part of it is their junior A teams also want them for the start of their training camps, right? So you've got to take that into consideration as well. It's the teams that they're going to play for this year want them at the start of their camps, and junior A camp started. They're already playing exhibition games. I think junior A camps opened last Thursday or last Friday.
Yeah.
Which would line up with when they were released, right? So I think that's kind of part of it. But yeah, the whole CJEP thing is foolish because WHL camps only opened 2 days ago.
OHL camps opened on the 31st.
Yeah, and
that's why I was able to go to Niagara's camp, because we were at Niagara Falls.
Yep.
That's a one-time place, by the way.
I've been there twice.
Yeah, and then coming back, I'd go in the winter to see the falls in the winter. And then on the way back, it's they just happened to have a team white practice, so I'm like, all right, let's just pop in, see the arena, look around, and leave. And that's when camps. That's to me what camps are like. Figure it out, and they never will. They'll never change it, and we're gonna have the same discussion. You can bookmark this for September 5th, 2024. September 6th. We're gonna have the same discussion about CSHAP next year.
Yeah.
Being one of the terrible rules. But you want to get to a guest, sir? Actually, a
Oh,
couple
is
guests.
it that time?
It is that time. We got a couple guests. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
View from the other bench.
All right, well, again, it's our preseason look around the Maritimes division. This week we're going to go to Halifax and St. John. So we're going to get this thing started with the Halifax Mooseheads and friend of the show, Willie Paloff. Willie, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Doing well, yeah. Got a nice holiday, recharged, ready to go. The season is upon us. I guess, how are things going in camp? I know the Mooseheads have their roster settled. Just anything that really shock you on the camp side?
No, not really. They have a core back. You guys probably already know this. A bunch of players who went all the way to Game 6 of the league championship last year and are back this year. But most of their losses were up front. So I thought maybe they would bring in a third 20-year-old by now. They only have 2 guys in camp. But by the sounds of it, they're going to wait probably till closer to Christmas time to fill that spot. So kind of the theme so far in camp has been mostly what the new forwards look like. And I was talking to Cam Russell today, the general manager, and he was saying how they're excited about all these young guys. And part of the idea is to maybe not fill that spot so they can just let these guys get even more ice time for the first, 20, 30 games. So that's been the biggest thing that I've noticed so far.
It's interesting you brought up Cam, because I asked this at the draft or at Christmas trade deadline last year and at the draft. He kind of stood pat. He made a lot of moves at the Christmas deadline to get his team to Game 6, and like I said on one of the shows, I mean, I don't know how. I know that the GMs usually of the top teams get the award nominations, but I don't know how Cam Russell doesn't get that award. Are you kind of surprised he didn't make a few moves to add, like you said, in the top end? I mean, you're losing Biasca, LaRue, 5 of your top 6 scorers. Like, I don't even know if there's a player out there that you can kind of replace him. Are they kind of holding up that hopefully Dume comes back if he doesn't surprise in Columbus?
Yeah, well, right now, you kind of what I've alluded to there is they have some really good building blocks up front. Dume, of course, is the biggest one, and then Marcus Vidicek and Matthew Cataford, and then there's quite a drop off after that, where they'll definitely be getting a 20-year-old scorer at some point. He'll have to be a top 6 player. But when I look around the league right now, I don't see many that would get anyone excited. So I get the impression they're going to want to see maybe if some middle of the pack teams, maybe by November, December, start to realize they're not going to make any noise. Let's cash out a good scorer, get something now. So I think that's the approach, because if there's a big hole on the team, it's secondary scoring after those top 3. As you mentioned, right? Like, you can't take players like Josh Lawrence and Zach LaRue and Alex Doucette, even Evan Boucher out of your lineup. And, that's well over 100 goals. So they've got to find somebody there. But at the same time, the prices they paid last year to get Doucette and Lawrence pretty much emptied their bank of picks for this year and some next year too. So they're going to have to be really targeted about who they get and what they can give up to get that player.
Yeah, I think I calculated they're based on the players that have graduated or will be playing in the pros this year. 139 goals.
Being deducted. That sounds right.
Yeah, being deducted from the Mooseheads lineup. Like, that's a huge chunk of the offense. And, I know it likely won't happen, but there is that small chance. Columbus doesn't have a very deep lineup. If Jordan Dume, let's say, happens to make the Blue Jackets, that just completely changes the Moosehead season, does it not?
Oh, that's an understatement for sure. I mean, you're talking about the defending league scoring champion and MVP, who's now a year older and better, and he's he's 1/3 of their only really super dangerous line. I mean, unless they spread those three guys around. And he's also, I mean, I'm stating the obvious. He's huge on the power play and all those things. So, I mean, personally, I don't see him making the Blue Jackets, but there are occasions, as you kind of mentioned, where players do surprise.
Patrice
you know,
Bergeron, right?
So who knows? Like Columbus is a team that needs something, right? Yeah. So even if they kept him for part of the year and then send him to World Juniors and he misses games, like all these things add up. So again, I think he'll be here probably to start the season. But yeah, like you know, as I mentioned earlier, you take Doucette and Lawrence, the top two playoff scorers in the league last year, second or third in regular season scoring. Zach Leroux would have been high up there had he not missed a bunch of games. And I mean, those are huge holes.
Yeah, one bright spot in Halifax's lineup is definitely their defense. I mean, that's probably going to be a solid group, and that's probably going to be one of the top defensive groups in all of hockey. Well, I should say Q, not all of hockey. You know, let's be specific here. But
yeah.
Did it surprise you when Brady James, I guess, was released? Because at this point, I mean, personally, you definitely could have got some sort of assets for him,
whether at Christmas or the draft.
Yeah, so it's he probably knew he was coming in as the backup, given how successful Rousseau was last year. But in your honest opinion, Willie, like, was it bad asset management by Cam Russell to not at least try to get something for him?
Well, the problem is really that there are very few 20-year-old backup goalies in the league. And 2 or 3 years ago, when Brady came in the league, he was really, really good. He took some minutes from Alex Gravel, and had a pretty good start to his second year. But then he just got into a funk. And I mean, I'm not picking on the kid, but he would tell you himself that he didn't ever play as well as he did maybe in his first, I don't know, maybe 40 or 50 games in the league. And as a 20-year-old, there are plenty of 20-year-old goalies in the league, but you have to be the starter. And Mathis Russo in Halifax is going to play a minimum of 50 games this year. He to me, he's one of the top 2 or 3 goalies in the league. Brady knew that. I mean, there was no jealousy or anything involved like that. But I think had there been a team interested in Brady, a trade would have happened. So I think that's kind of how these things play out. Is he obviously came to camp and realized that at some point they were going to use that third 20-year-old spot for scoring. They already had a number of goalies going to play 80% of the time, and then they were ready to move on even in August, right? So tough for him. He's a really nice kid, and I think he's a pretty good goalie. But you know, if he were 19 years old, he'd be here. He'd be the backup. There'd be no questions asked. But unfortunately, he's kind of 1 year too old.
It kind of reminds me of the Cole McLaren situation too, where he was behind Gravel, and then he was supposed to be the starter, and then just it wasn't traded or anything. He just kind of was released, and everyone was shocked by it. And it just, for a team that, the reason I think I was so shocked by it is a team that's losing all the scoring has a good D-core, one of the better ones in the queue, and then you're going to play a lot on Rousseau. You're going to want that veteran backup. And so how confident are they in the backup? I think it's Magit that's backing up for Milner. I knew it was Milner, an M.
Yeah.
I knew it was an M.
Well,
so
they know Jack. I mean, I don't think they're expecting Jack Milner to play. I mean, a max number of appearances to me would probably be 20, unless they have injury problems.
Right.
But he's a good team guy. He's a steady backup. But you know, the other side of that is if they get to a point where maybe he has a stretch where they're not quite comfortable with his readiness, then there are always backups around the league, because it's one of those positions where, I mean, you only need 2 on a team, right? And there's all kinds of good goalies out there. It's just you know, you need, as you guys mentioned, you need somebody maybe who's played a little more than a rookie would, just to make yourself feel comfortable. But right now they seem ready to go. And if Jack has a slow start, then maybe they'll change course. But as far as I know, they seem pretty comfortable because the plan would be for the number one to play all the time in the playoffs. So you have to kind of count on that too.
So I don't know what the expectations were coming into the season last year. I don't think it was get to Game 6 of the final. I think it was just win the division and kind of make some noise in the playoffs, and then the Lawrence trade kind of shifted things. So you go to Game 6, and a lot of the times in the junior hockey cycle, you go to Game 6 of the finals, and that draft is a restock of the cupboards, and Cam's got to, like you said, he's got to be very meticulous on the trades he makes. So is it a championship or bust mentality for this team if, knock on wood, everyone kind of stays healthy? Or what's the mindset of the fans and Cam Russell going into this season with, we didn't even touch on it, a new coach?
Yeah, well, a new old coach, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Jim Midgley was there 5 years ago after 7 years with the team, and is 5 years more experience now. He's coming off 2 years in the NHL with the Rangers. So that makes him automatically a much better coach even when he was here, and he was already a pretty good coach. So Jim's going to have, I think, a good year back in the saddle. And, I do think it's championship or bust, because with the junior cycle, you have to go when you've got the guys. You're usually, you're going to get 1 year, and if you're lucky, you'll get 2. You don't often get 3 contending years out of a high cycle like that. And last year was a year where they were willing to kind of play it out for the first, 20 or 25 games of the year, and then felt comfortable pushing some chips in. Not all of them, but they knew they'd have this core back. And keep in mind too, like when you have one of the best goalies in the league, and in my mind, easily the best defense in the league, that's a pretty good starting recipe.
Yep.
I mean, you're talking about Jake Furlong back there, one of the best 19-year-olds in the league. David Moravec comes back at 20. I mean, this is a guy who played pro 2 years ago, and then a whole bunch of other guys. So they'll get some offense from back there too, and that will offset a little bit. But a guy like Jim Midgley will be able to build a strategy around what personnel he has. So that's kind of the way I see it. As I mentioned earlier, they don't have a ton of assets to trade, and Cam's not a general manager that likes to trade away young players, even as future consideration. So they might go and get a reasonably priced 20-year-old, and if they have to, get one more veteran winger or center at the deadline. But outside of that, they might have enough to maybe go all the way this year too.
All right, here's the tough one and the last one before we let you go. Give us your is it called the Gilles Courteau Trophy now?
Yep. The
Gilles Courteau Trophy. I guess your finals prediction. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's funny. The reverse of what the Mooseheads have done as far as building through primarily the draft is going on in Rouyn-Noranda. That's a team that does draft really well and has some really good building blocks that are homegrown. But if you go back and review some of the trades they made, bringing in some excellent veteran players, I could see them and the Mooseheads being in that final. Of course, a lot of it will depend on division rankings, and like they've got a funny format for how it all sort of lands out with semifinals and that kind of thing.
The worst format.
Last year being a good example with Quebec and Gatineau playing in one semi, and Sherbrooke and Halifax in the other. Those are 4 teams you could pull 2 out of the hat and not go wrong. Yeah. So, but sure, in September, I would say those 2 teams look the best. And, then sometimes a lot changes in a hurry at Christmas when other teams are even more aggressive than what we see here in Halifax. Yeah. That's common too. So that's what I'll say right now, but I'll also say that you never know with the Quebec League because everything changes in December and January.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to hold you to it until Christmas, and then we'll give you one chance if you want to reevaluate it when we have you on for our trade deadline shows. If that works for you, Willie, we really appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully we can connect more this season, and good luck there in Halifax.
Yeah, my pleasure. Always great talking to you guys. Thanks.
Thank you. We switch from Halifax to our provincial rivals the St. John Sea Dogs, and now I don't even know where he is. Like usually he's in a junior rink, so you assume he's at a training camp. But with none of those left, he could be in an NFL rink or NFL stadium. He could be in Kansas City getting ready to go. We never know where the dude is. We tracked him down again. Good friend of the show. We just figured out he is leading the most episodes as a guest on the show. Mr. Jamie Tozer, how are you and where are you?
I'm doing well, guys. Thank you very much. Truly honored to be leading the leaderboard as well. So thanks for having me back. I'm just in St. Stephen, actually. Nowhere too crazy.
Nowhere too.
Still preseason for everyone, right? Still preseason. So
in fairness,
what's that?
In fairness, we recorded this on Tuesday, so your flight to Kansas City leaves when this comes out. Like, have you been to Arrowhead? Are you doing NFL stadiums? What's before we get to the Sea Dogs? What's next on the stadium venture?
Well, you know what? I've actually never been to an NFL game, which is weird.
What?
Never been to an NFL. I think I've only been in one NFL stadium ever, actually, which is weird
concert,
too.
Right?
What's that?
And it was for the T Swift concert in Gillette.
Yeah. No, what's next? So I got the 2 new CHL rinks. That's kind of the big quest this season. So yeah, hopefully, knocking those off this fall. But starting to do college hockey, which I know the CHL probably won't be too happy about. But really looking forward to doing a lot of these college rinks. Some of these college rinks look awesome. And I mention this all the time. One of the best college rinks in the U.S. is the closest one to us, University of Maine. Unreal experience if you've never been down there.
Yeah, on our way to the draft in Sherbrooke, we were talking about CHL, and I mentioned, I don't know why CHL doesn't come to Maine, and Mr. Boucher said they would be killed. Yeah. The Black Bears would take...
There is a market.
Yeah.
When you walk
it's a fun time, though.
When you walk into the gas station and see the Maine Black Bears everything, there is a market for that. So from one blue and black team to your blue and black team.
Nice transition.
Thank you.
Nice transition.
I was practicing. I was really hoping he was going to talk about Maine.
Yeah.
What's happening? Guys are going in, out. It's wasn't very much fury at the draft for the Stella era, but preseason one. I mean, Cole Burge is out, Olivia Bordeaux is out, Mateo Mann comes in, and then you signed the Leve, the goaltender, Lever. See, my Alberta thinking French kicks in when I see that name that sounds like it should be pronounced French. Comes in as the vet. I mean, quite an off season so far. Quite a training camp for the Stella era.
Yeah, not a ton of quantity of moves, but like the moves that were made were certainly impactful. Like you mentioned, pretty quiet draft, and even looking at the roster, there's only a couple guys from that draft class, or 2 or 3, 4 guys from that draft class that are probably going to be on the team all year. So, kind of an uneventful draft, which is kind of what we expected, just given that they didn't have any first round picks. But yeah, certainly the Burbage trade was a big deal. Probably puts St. John back a little bit this season, but certainly for 2 first round picks, that's a trade that I don't think anyone could have turned down.
Nope.
So it kind of is what it is. Certainly will probably hurt St. John this season. I think they're going to have a hard time scoring. There's not a lot of proven offensive weapons that are kind of older, and other than Peter Reynolds, obviously, the 2 imports, Matejko and Simic. But kind of beyond that, they're open guys. Really step up front, and have a few surprises as well. So kind of see where that goes. But the defense is really interesting. For a rebuilding team, this is kind of an older defense group, which is kind of odd. They got Mathis Gauthier they traded for at the draft. They brought in Mateo Mann. So 2 older guys that are going to be able to kind of provide some key experience to the rest of the group. And they've got some returning guys, Nate Tivy, Joseph Iannello, Nicola Bilodeau. All 3 of those guys are pretty impressive last year. And then kind of complementing that group is 2 rookies, and Matthew McLean, who's a 17-year-old rookie, and then Benjamin Amiot. Both of those guys look really good in camp. So an interesting defense group. Kind of curious to see how they play defensively. But of course, this is St. John's Sea Dogs preseason hockey, so there's obviously questions in goal like there is pretty much every year. I really don't know what to expect in that. They're going to have, looks like Patrick Lever, who's an OA from Ontario, comes in. Had just okay numbers in the OHL, so we'll kind of just see how he goes here in the queue. Looks like Justin Robinson, who was a 2022 pick, is going to be the backup. That's not confirmed yet, but looks like he's going to be the number 2. So two guys in net who have no queue experience. Obviously, Lever has some OHL experience, but brand new to the queue. So once again, the Sea Dogs are going to enter the season with some questions in that. So we'll see how that goes.
Mm-hmm. The acquisition of Matteo Mann, I think caught a lot of people off guard just based on, I guess, the direction the Sea Dogs are going in. Over under 3.5 months of how long he plays for the Sea Dogs.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I think he could be here all year. We'll see, though. I think he could be here the year. But yeah, I don't think there's any real secret that I think the Sea Dogs hope that man comes in, is excellent, and they can flip him for more than what they got him for. I don't think there's much secret. I don't think there's much secret about that.
So we'll go with the under on 3.5.
I'm taking the over.
Well, over would be January. So yeah,
he's gonna give them a couple games. Then when they come back just before the World Juniors ends,
so it's gonna be so if he's traded by let's say December the 20th, then it's the under.
Yeah.
Anything past December 20th is the over. Is that how it works?
I think so.
Let's
yeah.
do that.
Peter Reynolds probably won't play the full season here, eh?
I will be surprised if he does get traded. I think they're going to have a hard time dealing him. This is, from everything I know, I think if Peter Reynolds wants to be traded and there's a team available that wants him and he's willing to go there, I think that trade will happen. But I'm just not sure that's going to happen. I think it kind of just depends on the contending teams. If they have a need for an overage forward, I could see them reaching out and trying to work out a deal with Peter Reynolds. But I think the team has kind of accepted that he's probably going to be here for the year. But I think if they can work out a deal, great. But if not, I think they're kind of okay with him being here for the year. And again, like this team's probably going to struggle offensively. So him being here for the year isn't going to be a bad thing.
Right. The only reason I ask is the guy we just had on, Willie Paloff. That's a team that needs another 20-year-old, needs a little bit of depth scoring. And last time a Sea Dog went over there, it worked out pretty well. I mean, they technically said he scored 50 goals, but really not quite all for them. But hey, that is what it is. But yeah, I mean, if you're not scoring, you're going to need some players coming back that can maybe put the puck in the net. And Halifax isn't even in a position where they got some young fourth liners that can score that they can move for Peter Reynolds. Yeah. So it'll be an interesting decision on where they go with him. But I guess obviously it's a lot easier when you've got the banners hanging in the rafters. But only 2 teams missed the playoffs. What is the expectation for this team? Is it to make the playoffs? Is it to get past the first round? Like what is the expectation on this club? Or is it get to Christmas and stock some more of the cupboards if we can?
Yeah, I definitely think that I wouldn't be surprised to see this team take a step back after Christmas. I could see them dealing a lot of their older guys if they can. Again, they're still a little light in draft picks, even though, they're going to be almost 2 years removed from that Memorial Cup season. They're still light on picks. I think they're going to look for ways to help supplement that as much as they can. So we'll kind of see what happens. I'm sure they're hoping that some of these older guys they brought in can kind of deliver and they can deal them for more than they were brought in for. But we'll kind of see. I definitely think, I'm sure the expectation or sure the hope is that they can kind of improve upon where they finished last year. I think the Sea Dogs were probably a little bit better than what most of us thought last year. And I'm sure they're hoping that they can take a little bit of a step forward this year. And certainly with Bathurst and Charlottetown in the division, should have some competitive games there at least. So, I definitely think the goal is to make the playoffs again and maybe improve point-wise from where they finished last year. Still a bit of a transition year, that there's not that young core isn't quite in place yet. I think this time next year, we'll probably see a little bit more of the young core of the future and a bit more of a true direction kind of finalized for this next era for the Sea Dogs.
We'll touch on the Sea Dogs' first pick of the draft last summer. A bit of a surprise, Egan Beveridge. What are your, I guess, initial thoughts on his play so far in camp?
Yeah, I watched him at the rookie camp in the summer, and then again at training camp. Pretty obviously a highly talented forward, really good skater. Kind of has the extra step that elite forwards can have. Has a really good shot for a player his age too. But what stood out in the preseason games that I don't think any of us really quite knew about is his style of play. I would be willing to bet that over the next few years, Egan Beveridge might be the most talked about player on your podcast who's not a Wildcat. I think he is going to be very disliked by visiting fans and visiting players. He plays very much a Brad Marchand style. And he's kind of small. He's small like Marchand too, and he can score like Marchand. We'll see. So I think he's going to be a very well-known player in the queue, and I'm curious to see how his style kind of adapts to the queues. I think he's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
I'm out, so it's up to you.
Oh, you said you had one more question.
I mean, are you going to Nelly and T.I.? I guess that's one more question.
No, I'm probably going to pass on that.
I saw the tickets. I'm like, $140. What? I know like one T.I. song, and it's with Rihanna, and I know he ain't coming, so...
I also think parking's $10 for that, which is quite high.
Unless I know somebody in the St. John area that could help me out with tickets, maybe. Mm-hmm. But a Thursday night, Nelly, I'm just at that age where I'd just rather watch YouTube.
Well, if you want to go take a ride with me, it's... let's lead into the final question here, Jamie, because I know things are bumping in St. Stephen on a Tuesday night here. So we want to get you downtown there. So I know it's early here. Games haven't started for real, but let's get your premature no, I can't say it. Jill Corto Championship Series prediction.
I'll take Halifax and Rouyn-Noranda, and
2 for 2.
Unlike 2019, I think Halifax is going to pull this out. Even though if they played right now, I think Rouyn-Noranda would win, but I think Halifax will do what they have to do to improve.
All right. 2 for 2. Both you and Willie had the same prediction. I thought maybe one of you might go Drummondville, but again, like we said to him, we're going to hold you to it. We're going to pencil it in now. And then we hand you off on the Maritime trade shows. We'll give you one chance to redo if you'd like, or stick with those selections after. All right. If that's fair.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. That's that's it. I mean, when it's preseason hockey, there's not a lot going on, right? So, once again, valued guest, we truly appreciate you giving us the time and adding one more notch to your guest lead.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Thank you. I truly do love looking around the league at other teams, especially in the preseason, especially the C-Shep preseason where it's all the 16-year-olds. But both great interviews from Willie and Tozer, and kind of interesting. They both went Rouyn-Noranda
and Halifax.
No Drummondville yet.
No Drummondville. No Victoriaville.
I thought maybe one of them might pick Drummondville.
Mm-hmm. No Drummondville. No Victoriaville. And those are really your four. Those are your four teams right now that are kind of standing out amongst the crowd, and there could be another team that gets into that group here probably between now and Christmas and after Christmas, and that fifth team will be my
pick.
My pick, yep. And no, it's going to be a very exciting year because the dominoes are starting to fall. You're starting to see, the teams that made the moves at the draft, Rouyn-Noranda and Drummondville specifically. Those are kind of early indications that they're going to be wanting to win a championship this year. For me, it's if Dumais. I think Dumais starts. He might even start with Columbus. I think he's one of those guys where
He gets 9
again,
games, but they spread it out.
Not even 9 games. I think
No, but he's allowed 9, but they can spread it out for 3 months and then send him to the World Juniors, right?
Yeah, or even they might even burn one of his years and just maybe play him until Christmas and then send him to the World Juniors and then send him back to Halifax.
Yeah.
But at that point, where is Halifax in the standings? Does it make sense for them to, okay, now we got our guy back.
Yeah.
Do we have the tools to maybe to go for it, or do we just say, let's try to recoup some of those assets we spent on Lawrence and Doucette and maybe a mid-pack team.
Retool this quickly.
Retool it,
yeah.
maybe surprise in the first round, and go from there. Like it's all going to depend on if and when Dume gets back to the queue, and that's that. It's
and the other wild card is LaRue, right? If he doesn't make Nashville and he's the extra 20, there's that. If
he doesn't make Nashville, he plays AHL.
Oh right, yeah. Never mind. Forgot about the AHL part.
Come on, man.
One
You've
year
been doing
out of
this
it?
for 6 years.
Yeah, but sometimes teams in the NHL do weird things, right?
Like what does Columbus's
I don't
depth
even
chart
know.
look like?
Johnny Gaudreau, and that's it.
Johnny Gaudreau, Adam
Fantilli.
Yeah, because he went Columbus.
Yeah.
Fantilli.
Yeah.
Boone Jenner still there?
That's Columbus.
Let me check through.
Like, I have no idea what they do.
2023. So, okay, I get some guys here. Sillinger, Roslovic, Marchenko, Line, Corrali, Kent Johnson, Johnny Gaudreau, Liam Foodie, Fantilli,
There's definitely
Chinakhov.
there's definitely a bottom 6 role in there.
There's room for
there
him,
is room in there,
right? And it's because there's there's
And
room for him.
I don't know how their market is, but if you can add the second best player in the CHL and get some hype around this player, if it's not for Connor Bedard, he wins CHL Player of the Year. That's a pretty good asset to add if you're the Blue Jackets. So there's definitely a market for him to make it there. And
yeah, on Elite Prospects, they have the Blue Jackets have 18 forwards listed going into that. I'm assuming that's under contract, right? And there's guys there that, I think he's probably better. Like, who is Nate Schnarr?
no idea.
Who is Cameron Butler?
No idea.
Who is Eric Robinson?
You know who they aren't? They aren't Jordan Dumais.
No, they're not. And if Dumais, he can probably play a 6, probably a top. No, I would say top 6, but a top 9 role.
Yep.
In Columbus.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like, I think there's room for him, but maybe not for the entire season. I think he's one of those guys that plays until maybe November, December, World Juniors, and then gets sent back. And at that point, you're Cam Russell. You've got to think, what the hell are we going to do?
That's the worst. Like, you can tread water and probably be close to leading this division by then.
Yeah.
But you have to have that 100% reassurance that he's coming back and not because you're not starting to make deals, 2 weeks before the World Juniors or when the World Junior rosters are announced. You're starting to make them quite early, and you want to have a sure promise that he's coming back after the World Juniors if he stays up in Columbus, not like Richie who gets a player back that can flip him on the 11th hour of it, right? So it'll be interesting to see what they do, and two is St. John. They're still kind of in that rebuild year, but they do have some pieces, and I'm going to take the under on Matteo Mann. The trade to me just seems like let's go get some pieces to get back more pieces than we gave up to recoup some of our cupboards, because as a 19-year-old, there are some teams that could use them and strengthen their decor even more than that.
Yeah, and just get back on the Halifax topic, to quote Aerosmith lead singer Steven Tyler when he was a judge on American Idol, when Scotty McCreery was auditioning, to hell with fire, save matches, fuck a duck, and see what hatches.
You got the explicits going today. That's your what's in that PSL over there, bud?
Cinnamon.
Yeah, you're part of that. Are you ready for a preseason? Everybody's favorite part of the show.
Yes, because it says he forgot, but he's ready.
All right, let's get to everyone's favorite part of the show.
Eric Murray, realtor, buy our house from him. Stick tap of the week.
I usually never get to intro guests.
No, you don't.
So this is an honor for me
And him.
for him as well to introduce our next guest. And this week's recipient of the Stick Tap of the Week, we are joined by Alex Pittsburgh Arsenault. Alex, how are you?
Hey, thanks for having me, boys. And yes, I'm definitely honored that Boucher did the intro.
Well, it's always nice to have some first timers. We love to pop cherries here on the Wildcats podcast, and no, we're obviously here to talk about your Al's Pals. That's obviously garnered lots of attention on social media in the past week, and even in the Times and Transcript here. Tell us a little more about it and what made you come up with the idea.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for allowing me the opportunity to talk about it. So, not any one thing. We'll start from the start, I guess. It's not any one thing that led me to come up with it. I mean, the name, if it's not obvious, it actually comes from The Office. From Scott's Tots, kind of my own play on with that. But as far as the idea and the wanting to help people, I mean, a lot of people inspired me to do that. You have Becca Schofield, everything she did, and she really did everything, paying it forward and all that stuff. So yeah, definitely someone who wants to pay it forward and help people. And you see, you got to play out game. It's a big game against Baco. You got like 1,000 people in the stands. That kind of gets the feel.
We're kind of losing you there. You're breaking
Get
up.
more fans. What's that?
I said we're kind of losing you, and you're breaking up. Where are you?
Oh, geez. You guys hear me better now?
Yeah, there you go.
I was wearing a headset. I thought it'd be better. But, yeah, so, you're sitting in an arena with 1,000 people, kind of gets the wheels turning on how, how can we improve on that, I guess. And, adding all these different things together kind of led me to where I am. Obviously, I had to talk to the wife about it because it is quite the, just quite the, I don't know, the spend, if you want to call it that. And so at first she was kind of like, what the heck? I mentioned it at the start of the summer. And then as we got closer to the season, I brought it back up again. She's like, oh, you're serious? And I was like, yeah, I really want to do this. Like, I want to do this for, the community and for the newcomers and stuff. And so she's on board with it. Evidently not something I would do every year, but, maybe if it's very successful and all that stuff, might have to look at doing some fundraising for next year or something, but it's not something I can convince her to allow me to do every year before, but we'll see where that goes. But I'm just taking it 1 year at a time. But so what we're doing is, buying giveaway, that's on top of mine. So give away 4 tickets to every game. It can be to families or it could be to, I've already had a single, so I had a group of 3 and in the Philippines, and just, he doesn't have anything, he just wants to go see games. So put him with, your Ukrainian family. Social media has been really good off the bat. I wasn't really sure how, many people I'd have, but I'm already over half full. I'm already booking into January, so it's a good problem to have. So
Yeah.
I'm going to tone down on the looking for people, because some people are so excited. I don't think they can actually wait until January. It like breaks my heart to have to tell them that, like, yeah, by the way, you won't be going until January, because they're so excited and stuff. But the messages I've gotten to, great stories. They're telling me how long they've been here, what came here, and with who, and blah blah blah, and all this stuff. And the season, it hasn't even started yet. It's already been rewarding. So definitely pleased. And I think it's gonna be really fun. If you follow along on Facebook, they're for giving. I just want a picture.
I think we're
all the different types of people that'll be attending the games on my behalf, I guess.
Yeah, and it's one of the, we're kind of losing you, you're breaking up every now and then, but people are getting most of it. And like you said, if you follow on social media, and what I love about it when you reached out to ask if we'd have you on is the fact that everybody has all these ideas on Twitter and wherever, and talking to your friends about how to get more people in. And I've had many ideas and this and that, but you're actually doing something. And I think that's what's the coolest part is you're putting your money, your and your wife's money where your mouth is for year one. And like you said, I mean, it's not an easy venture, and hopefully that whether you can fundraise the next year or not, hopefully the Wildcats kind of take this and think this is an unbelievable venture, started by you, allow you to do it, but maybe help you corporately somehow to get more fans involved. Because we're seeing so many people that have never been to a game, and for you to do this and kind of allow people to have that experience. I mean, I just went to my first Jays game. I want to go back to more. It's cool when it can be your first game.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, something I didn't mention, but something that led me to that is a couple of years ago, I had a guy come down for work. He was from Texas. He'd never been to a hockey game. And I brought him out, and, he hadn't even watched the game on TV. And to him, he had so much fun. And it's funny, he asked me if there was going to be a fight, and I said, no, probably not. And sure enough, the Wildcat game that season that had a fight was that game. So he was all pumped about that. He even saw a penalty shot. So he actually picked a really good one to see. And as far as doing something, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. But I had to do something. It's sad to say I love the Wildcats and everything, but I feel like they don't do enough. Even in this instance, I hand sent them an idea. I emailed it to them, and just no response. I know one of your dedicated listeners, Lorette, he wrote a very long email with a ton of suggestions last year, and I'm sure none of that will be acted upon. And talking to some people in the know, I guess they've had a lot of turnover. So while they do have great people working for them, they kind of, they're doing a lot. They have a lot on their plate. So just doing the simple things such as just renewing regular season tickets and all this stuff, I think they really have their hands full. And it's when you're just, so buried in work, it's hard to be able to think outside the box and implement stuff like that. So they're just kind of, almost just going through the motions and just on autopilot. I took it upon myself and to just do this, and hopefully with enough media attention, maybe it's something they can take over in the future, or if they're willing to do something as far as pricing and stuff, then maybe it's something I don't mind doing the work, but it's just not, I can't just take $3,000 out of my own pocket for season tickets every year, whatever it's going to cost.
No, and even if it's not tickets, if you get the tickets and they give the little merchandise like a foam finger and stuff, like that kind of little thing to do it. So where can people find out how to get these tickets when we get into January as you're kind of booked up until then? And then if anyone's thinking about wanting to do it or has been to the Avenir Center for a concert and isn't quite sure, are these tickets spread out, or where are they? What section are they in?
So I actually haven't purchased the tickets yet because I was waiting on the Wildcats to get back to me, and unfortunately, they're not even able to purchase the tickets online. Okay. The only way to buy tickets is to go into the office, which isn't convenient being downtown. So I've kind of been putting it off, but obviously they won't sell out, so I'm not really worried about that. Okay. But as far as finding out, Al's Pals, Rookie Fans, I believe is the title of the page on Facebook. You can like the page, follow along there. You can message me there. If you know someone, or if you're interested in participating, I can also be emailed at alspalsmoncton@gmail.com. I encourage anybody that knows someone. I feel like everybody would know either a coworker or a friend of a friend that's new, or anything like that. Everybody knows someone that's new to Canada. It seems like immigration in Moncton's really been rampant the last few years, so there'll be no shortage of families, that's for sure. I just need to get the message out to them, right? Just find those families.
No, that's awesome, man. What you're doing is really great, and Yeah, for sure. Like if there's one thing that needs to be addressed in the past few seasons, is the attendance, right? And it's especially in the playoffs when we'd be lucky to get 3,000 people in a playoff game. That just can't happen.
Yeah, not everybody's got Bedard coming, so it is a league wide issue, but it seems to be a Moncton issue, and it's good to see someone actually doing something.
100%. Look, man, that's. Unless you have anything else to add, that's all the time we need from this guy.
He's a big fan. We should probably ask him what his thoughts on camp so far.
Yeah. Let's. I guess your thoughts on camp, and maybe let's get your JHL finals prediction.
Oh, geez, you probably put me on the spot with that. So I haven't followed camp much at all. I've had my mindset on this for quite some time, but as far as the Q. Well, I got to go with the Wildcats. Got to give a homer pick. It's called the Wildcats, right? Yeah. And then I think a good final will be Moncton versus Rouen. Good Huskies versus Wildcats. Be a good little fight, I think. So that's my hope and my prediction.
Nice.
All right. You probably more so Super Bowl prediction. You got one of them?
Well, let's be biased again. Let's go. Let's go with the Steelers, obviously. Yeah. And then we'll go with Philly again. Why not? We'll go with all Pennsylvania final.
That would be something. An all Pennsylvania final, and they get WrestleMania at Link. It's just all Pennsylvania. Everything's coming up Pennsylvania. I pandered to Dave and to Pat picking the Bengals, and Jeremy went with
the New York Jets.
The Jets, yeah.
The Jets, Jets. I believe in the Aaron Rodgers magic. I like it.
I love it. I believe in the COVID conspiracy theorist Aaron Rodgers.
We'll go with that, yeah. But thanks a lot for having me, boys. No problem. I appreciate it. I can't believe this is my first time on the podcast, actually. But it's for a good cause. I'm glad you guys allowed me to spread the word.
Yep, anytime, and we'll have you on maybe later in the season, find out how things are going, and if you got other tickets and how things are going.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Well, middle of the interview was me, but you kind of get the idea. Like I said, we've been on social media last year and the years before just trying to give ticket ideas and trying to get fans in the building, and that's what this show does, is get fans excited for things, and I would love to be able to do something like that. And we try to give away tickets, but what he's doing is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is. And obviously the poor connection there, we can blame it on him being with either Bell or Telus. So there's obviously no, this is really cool. It's something that you see NHL players do around their arenas and with their own foundations and stuff like that. So props to Alex for even coming up with this idea and forking out the money out of his own pocket, and I hope to see it grow. I'd love to see the Wildcats partner up here and jump all over this, because it is a very, very cool initiative. And at the same time, I'd really like to see them have a 19+ Cats Cup division with some food trucks and some beer gardens and some live music, and just have a good old time.
Yep. Not all your fans are kids, and I get you market to the kids, but hey, a 19-year-old beer division would be absolutely perfect, and I think it'd be one of the funner events if the weather holds up and you got the space for it. So, but yeah, just an awesome adventure, and hopefully it, like you said, it's booked up until January, and we'd like to have him on to see if he needs some more press for it. But at the rate he's going, he probably won't need more press, because it looks like it's going to sell out sooner rather than later. But that's it for us. Don't forget the Wildcats are back in action on Friday as the Eagles come to town, and they're in Bathurst to take on the T-Tail on Saturday. We'll be back next week breaking down those games, I guess, a little bit. And continuing our Maritime Division preview with a look at the Islanders and those Bathurst Titan. Nice. For Jeremy, I'm Adam. See you next week.